announcing to the world that you're going to have a baby. And then a friend of yours announces shortly after that they're in a rush-booked Elimination Chamber match in 2 weeks' time. And all the focus should go on them. Relatable? Debatable. This is Raw Graded. A montage of the friendship of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre opens the show. A friendship which has now ended because Sheamus kicked his friend in the head and he wants a shot at the WWE title. We go to the Thunderdome where Adam Pearce introduces Shane McMahon, and somewhere that vein in the head of Ross Tweddle starts palpitating. Shane comes out to say we have a blockbuster announcement for the next pay-per-view. Don't we, Adam? To which Adam says, that's right. It's going to be an Elimination Chamber match for the WWE title with Drew McIntyre defending his title against Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, The Miz, and Sheamus. Shane congratulates Adam Pearce on his brilliant announcement and leaves. With the exception of a bit after this, where Drew says to Shane, hey, we're buddies. Why don't you tell me about the announcement? And Shane sort of shrugs it off and gets in his car. That's all we see of Shane McMahon tonight. Inconsequential. Inconsequential. Shane's heading up the ramp and AJ Styles heads out next. Bit of history between those two cats, isn't there? AJ comes to the ring and he says the odds aren't in Drew's favour for the Elimination Chamber. He says he underestimated Adam Pearce. He's clearly a genius for booking this match, and he's going to give a snippet of what to expect right now. It's AJ Styles versus Jeff Hardy getting us underway tonight. Jeff one step ahead of Styles until he tweaks his knee, countering a move from AJ, and AJ just zones in on it from here on in. We see AJ smacking his knee off the apron. We see him driving him into the steel steps, dropping it onto the announce table as well. Styles gets the calf crusher in, but Jeff manages to make the ropes to break it. The damage is done. Jeff collapses as he gets whipped across the ring. He is in a bad way. However, he manages to counter the phenomenal forearm by shaking the ropes. He starts to come back from here, manages to land a twist of fate, crawls up to the top for the Swanton Bomb, takes too long and misses it, ends up getting put in the calf crusher again, and Jeff Hardy taps out to AJ Styles. Opening match get to be, from me, some really good, really simple storytelling here to get a setup for the Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks. Apparently, that is now a thing that is happening. What was the point in Shane McMahon coming out earlier? Like, whether or not we're telling whether there's something more long-term going on here, I don't know. It felt very, very uninteresting. Also, really uninteresting way to announce an Elimination Chamber. Like, oh, by the way, we're on an Elimination Chamber. There you go. There's who's in it. I know we've got 2 weeks to get there, but you make your own problems, WWE. We'll talk more about it a bit later. Riddle welcomes Keith Lee back to Monday Night Raw, and Keith admires Riddle's shiner. He got it from Bobby Lashley last week, but Riddle's been away. He went home. He says laughter is the best medicine, so he watched all the Air Bud films, and now he's feeling great. He says that nobody believed a dog could play basketball, and that is the kind of energy that he's giving to himself, pursuing the United States Championship. Keith Lee suggests that maybe somebody else should go after Lashley, maybe himself, after he beats Riddle later on. Riddle sort of smiles it off and says, hey, may the best man win. They're fighting later on tonight, Riddle and Lee, looking forward. Up next, Retribution teaming up, Slapjack and T-Bar facing off against the New Day. Kofi Kingston back in action tonight on Monday Night Raw. New Day dominate quite a bit of this. Nice trustful dive from Kofi outside the ring to give him the advantage going into the break. Ali is on commentary for this entire match, screaming at T-Bar and Slapjack to eat at the table, to eat their food. Eat at the table! Use your knife and fork! He didn't say that. I wish he had. We see Woods get beaten down by Retribution for quite a bit of this until Kofi gets the hot tag. He lights up the ring, lands a Trouble in Paradise that knocks T-Bar off the apron, and then they hit Daybreak through the New Day onto Slapjack for the win. They then leg it out of the ring to the New Day, not wanting to get swamped by the others. And Woods, as he's heading up the ramp, is shouting, give me Reckoning! Give me Reckoning! The only member of Retribution he's not been in the ring yet with. Mustafa Ali, livid with what's gone on here tonight. That's a B-. Decent enough match. It was all right, that. It was good fun. It was a lot of dominance by the New Day. Ali was borderline annoying on commentary. Borderline annoying. But hey, they gave him a live mic, so I guess they trust him. Ric Flair and Lacey Evans come out next, and Ric Flair explains his actions as of late. He says that he never takes orders from women. Isn't he divorced multiple times? Doesn't he have lots of standing orders in his bank account? It also says that he's sick of hearing about people talking about the greatness of Charlotte Flair and not him. So he's doing something for himself. He's guiding the career of Lacey Evans. He says it's casual, but if Lacey falls in love with him, he can't help that. Lacey says that she is showing Ric Flair the respect that his daughter doesn't. And this brings out Charlotte Flair, who says, look, don't care what you do, Dad, but stop trying to pretend to be me, Lacey. Go train at the Performance Center. Oh, sick burn. Ric Flair and Lacey, they say, look, Lacey says to Charlotte, we've got off on the wrong foot here. Maybe we should align with each other. And Ric Flair loves the idea of Charlotte and Lacey becoming a tag team. Charlotte's not having it, to which Lacey says, fine, didn't want to be a partner anyway, but I have it on authority from the management, according to Ric Flair, that if I beat you in a match, I become the #1 contender. Because that's how rankings work, I suppose. To which Charlotte says, okay, let's have a fight now. To which Lacey says, yeah, all right, and bops her with the microphone and throws her into the stairs and says, I accept the match, you nasty. Which should be a t-shirt. So we get Charlotte and Lacey Evans next, and there is something missing with these two that just isn't gelling for me. They have themselves a match. Lacey works over the arm that was driven into the steps for the majority of it, and every time Charlotte starts to rally, Lacey ends up dropping the arm onto the floor or pulling on the arm, hyperextending it or what have you. Lacey does a Flair strut. This gets the dander up of Charlotte, who suplexes Lacey, gives a Flair strut of her own. Back from the break, Lacey is hyperextending that arm even more. Charlotte is pushing back into this. Lacey goes for a moonsault. Flair gets the knees up. This is where Flair starts to get back properly into the fight. Charlotte and Rick argue outside the ring, which gives Lacey a chance to cheap shot Charlotte. Throws her into the ring. Encouraged by Flair, goes to do a figure 8. Charlotte rolls out of it quite easily. Spears Lacey. Tells Flair to stop humiliating me. And Charlotte just wails on Lacey Evans, those heavy rights to the face. The referee tries to break it up. Charlotte pushes the referee away, and the referee goes, right, ring the bell, DQ. Bit soft, just saying. And Ric Flair gets in there to separate the two, and Lacey's bell is well and truly rung by Charlotte. But what they don't announce, which is crucial, is that Lacey won the match by disqualification. So technically, Lacey has beaten Charlotte, and we do find out later in the night that we are indeed getting Lacey and Asuka at Elimination Chamber. That's how you get us to a match. That's how you do it. Would it have truly caused the world to collapse around itself if Lacey had even got a questionable win over Charlotte here? Would it have caused the world to end? Probably not. C- here. There's something, as I said earlier, that isn't clicking about these two. They don't mesh well. And also, jeez, I say it every week. I'm a broken record. Turn Charlotte heel. She is very unlikable. Market that. Market somebody walking around as, I'm the best in the business. I'm the best. Shut up, everyone. I'm the best. That's a heel. Market her as a heel. I don't want them as a team. I don't want them anywhere near each other. But we're probably going to get something else. But there, have that. Out comes Edge next. He's been pondering his big decision. Will he challenge for the Raw WWE Championship, for the SmackDown Universal title, NXT? Will he challenge Finn Balor for the belt there? He says he still hasn't made his mind up. He was close to making his mind up tonight. And then they announced that Elimination Chamber. Took us all by surprise. And Edge said, you know what? I'm going to wait until the Elimination Chamber happens to decide from here. This brings out The Miz and John Morrison, who are in the corner of Angel Garza tonight. So Garza's out there with them as well. And Miz congratulates Edge on a wonderful speech. Says it reeks of awesomeness. But says, whatever decision you make, I'll be waiting. And he holds up the Money in the Bank briefcase. And Edge here just eviscerates Miz in a wonderful manner. Because he says, you know, I made that briefcase famous in the first place. And Edge, rightly so, says also, well, I know to have my eyes in the back of my head anyway, but thanks for reminding me that you exist. Like, why would you come out and tell me you're going to cash in against me? Edge has been, like, last week when he had that bit with Drew and he said, like, why aren't you beating me up? Like, Edge is kind of this break into the alternative universe where, like, he's looking in on some of the nonsense that goes down on Raw and goes, why are you doing that? And I like Edge calling out Miz on, like, why are you telling me you're going to surprise me? Just surprise me, you dickhead. He doesn't say you dickhead, sadly. Also, he says that Miz seems happy being awesome, which Edge was 20 years ago, and says Edge, however, needs to be WWE champion, and that is the difference. Edge walks off, leaving Miz, Morrison, and Garza just staring back at him. B+ here. Really good, strong promo from Edge once again, and I think that he's bringing the batting average up every week, isn't he, of these promos? He really is. Angel Garza stays out there along with Miz and Morrison because they're in action next. Well, Garza is. Miz and Morrison are in the corner. They're facing Damian Priest, and he's got Bad Bunny with him. Bunny's got pyro now, by the way, so you know Bad Bunny's sticking around. Priest in control of this until Miz and Morrison run distraction. This allows Garza to land a cheap shot. As Bad Bunny's on the apron complaining about it, Garza whips his trousers off, throws them at Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's not massively happy about this. We see Priest mount another comeback, gets shut down by Garza. Then he gets beaten up outside the ring by Miz and Morrison whilst Garza's distracting the referee. Here comes Bad Bunny. He grabs the Money in the Bank briefcase, throws it into the ring. So Morrison runs into the ring to try and get it, to which the referee sees Morrison in the ring, and he throws Miz and Morrison out of the Thunderdome. Sends them away. Bad Bunny is distracting Garza outside the ring shortly after this, which leads him to stumble into the Reckoning for the 1, 2, 3. Damian Priest pinning Angel Garza with a lot of nonsense all around him. It's a C+. It's a short match. It's serviceable. It's entertaining. Bad Bunny seems like he's becoming a natural at this wrestling thing as well. And as if what we hear is true, that he's going to be around for quite a while, then that's fine with me because he seems to be getting it. Drew talks to Charlie Caruso. He says he's trying to wrap his head around the Sheamus situation. His best friend turned on him last week, lest we forget. He doesn't know why he didn't just ask him for a title shot rather than throwing their friendship away. He then says everybody's coming for him at the moment. He talks about the Elimination Chamber being announced. He's got a match against Randy Orton later on. He says people think he's going to crack under the pressure, but he says he's like a wild animal, and if you corner him, he'll come at you and rip your face off. This is very much an issue at the moment with Drew McIntyre. In this particular week, is that, like, the sensible option was Drew and Sheamus having a program leading up to WrestleMania, in the run up to it. Why not do Drew and Sheamus? There's a nice story there. And it's like the week that Sheamus turned, and then a week later, Sheamus is hoyed into an Elimination Chamber match. Like, you've lost all this energy around the Sheamus heel turn because, we've got Elimination Chamber to get to. This is another example of WWE booking themselves into a corner because they've got this Elimination Chamber, but we have to turn Sheamus heel now. Like, could you not have held off on that? Could you not have done that after all the dust has settled here? It seems like a waste of energy to have this announcement that Sheamus is now, like, turns his back on Drew. You have the video package on Raw, but he's just sort of lost in the shuffle now. He's one of 5 other guys challenging for the title. He does reflect this in a promo with Adam Pearce next, where he says that he's unhappy about the fact that he is in an Elimination Chamber with so many other people, but says that he's gonna make Adam Pearce regret that happening because he's gonna be a destructive boy in that chamber. But it just, I want to see Drew and Shaymo one-on-one. Not the chamber nonsense. Not a thrown together chamber. Anyway, rant over. Bianca Belair is being interviewed next, and she hasn't made her mind up on who she's challenging either. Come on, Rumble winners, sort it out. Dave knew who he was fighting after the 05 Rumble by now. He wasted no time, honestly. Gosh. But she has a little chat with Asuka, who turns up, says Belair isn't ready for Asuka. Belair says, I am, but I tell you what, maybe if you beat Lacey Evans at Elimination Chamber, maybe I'll be on Raw more often. And Asuka genuinely looks a bit concerned about that. Like, I miss Asuka being an unstoppable monster. She looked a bit concerned about facing Bianca Belair, and she did some dancing in this thing as well. I forgot to mention the dancing. You must mention the dancing. Up next, it's Riddle facing the returning Keith Lee. MVP's on commentary with the US Championship neatly positioned in front of him. They start with a fist bump, and it's Riddle immediately going for an armbar, a leg lock, and a rear naked choke, but Keith Lee powering out of all of them. Lee is in charge after he hits a pounce on Riddle, who was charging into the corner. He just bounces Riddle around the ring here with strikes and beals. Riddle counters a spirit bomb, lands a knee strike off the top rope. Looks like he's starting to roll here. He hits the floating bro, but gets just a 2 count off of that one. Lands a couple of brotons, goes for the arm bar again, and he's really pushing at this point, but Keith Lee constantly keeps on powering up. Lee goes for another spirit bomb. It gets turned into the aforementioned armbar. After a final flash, Riddle goes one more time for a big move, ends up trying to go for a Rana, but finally Keith Lee lands that spirit bomb for the 1, 2, 3. Lee pins Riddle. They shake hands after the match, and then here comes Lashley to attack Lee from behind. He ends up slamming Keith Lee, which was very impressive. He puts the hurt lock on Riddle, and then just batters Lee on the outside of the ring. Ends up hoying him over the announce table after being smashed with the steel steps. Lashley looked like a beast here. Whole segment I'm giving a B+ to. Really decent, fun match between Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. Sorry, Riddle. We're not doing the Matt anymore, are we? Some amazing intensity from Lashley as well that just tops this off. Intrigued by Lashley versus Lee. That's a cool thing. We get a little video package about the rivalry between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Then Orton, in a dark, dingy part of the Thunderdome, talks to the camera, addresses unfinished business between himself and Drew McIntyre, and says he'll get reintroduced to Drew tonight, and then he will win the championship at the Elimination Chamber. So again, the Chamber, just this weird speed bump on the road to WrestleMania at the moment, isn't it? Nia Jax and Lana up next. They're having a table match. Finally! The match that we should have had in December. We're getting in February. Why the wait? Why take so long to get to this? Anyway, I know Lana was injured for a bit, but you had a beautiful moment, a beautiful opportunity before Lana went out to recover from injury, where you could have had that match, and you chose not to. But anyway, Jax immediately dominant in this match. A couple of power bombs to Lana. Nia goes for a power bomb over the top rope, but Lana is able to turn into a head scissors that puts Jax onto the apron. She manages to overpower Lana despite being on the other side of the apron. She goes for the Undertaker-style apron leg drop, which Lana moves. So Nia hits the hardest part of the ring, and then walks around outside the ring going, "Oh, my hole!" Could you imagine if The Undertaker did that every time he missed that move? Oh, my hole! Yeah, well done, Nia. Trending on Twitter for shouting, "Oh, my hole." And as she's outside the ring, recovering from her hole, Lana, I think, wins this in the best match she possibly could. Where, as Nia is walking around the ring, Lana, screaming, runs towards Nia and just pushes her and sends her through a table, and that is the match. And Lana has defeated Nia Jax in a table match. And, post-match, Shayna Baszler getting into the ring, trying to get a piece of Lana. Here's Naomi, Lana's tag team partner, to stop that happening, and then we go to break. Got another match in just a moment before we do. This one, I'm giving a C to, right? Simple enough. The right person won. We should have had this ages ago. Oh, my hole. Oh, my hole. Back from break, Shayna Baszler takes on Naomi. Baszler goes for the arm stomp quite early on in this one, and Naomi kips up to avoid it, but then gets pulled to the apron and then gets her arm stomped. Otherwise, it's pretty much all Naomi until she goes for a wheelbarrow stunner, but gets caught and it gets put into the Kirifuda clutch. She manages to make the ropes, though, with Lana cheerleading her outside the ring. Shayna gets out of the ring and just batters Lana for cheerleading. And as she gets back into the ring, Shayna gets rolled up into a cradle. 1, 2, 3. Naomi has just pinned Shayna Baszler. Oh, okay. Fine. Okay. There we go. I'll give that a C+. I thought it was short, but there was some really nice spots in here. I think in terms of in-ring enjoyment, I got more out of this brief bit from Shayna and Naomi than Lana and Nia. It was so, I'm giving it a little extra bit on top of that. Yeah, so there you go. They should have done the Lana stuff ages ago. Anyway. You're rushing to get an Elimination Chamber, but you sit on that for... Anyway, whatever. Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre is our main event of the evening. RKO and Claymore attempts early on. Drew gets on the offense, and just as he's starting to get motor in, Sheamus' music hits. Sheamus comes bombing down to the ring and then stops at the ring apron. He's like a dog that ran to the door to meet his owner. Just charges to the ring and then just stops. But it's a distraction that allows Randy Orton to take control, hoist Drew into the turnbuckle, and he's in the lead from here. From here, we see Orton taking much of the advantage. Drew mounts a comeback until Orton lands a superplex and a draping DDT. We're going for the RKO. Drew turns it into a future shock, and this is where Drew lines up for the Claymore, or at least what we think is going to happen. But here's Sheamus. He enters the ring. Drew sees him out the corner of his eye. Drew moves, and Sheamus bro kicks Randy Orton. Match is thrown out via DQ, and then Sheamus eats a Claymore for his trouble, and Drew stands tall at the end of Monday Night Raw. Giving the main event a B, a decent enough main event with all the other elements around it. Not the best match they've ever had, but this Sheamus heel turn, I'm gutted for him. This is something they have been bubbling with for ages. And last week he turned. This week, there's an Elimination Chamber match. There's loads of other people involved. And this week he gets kicked in the face by Drew. I wouldn't want to see any more. If I was putting this together, surely the money is in having Sheamus and Drew keep apart and then have them wrestle one-on-one at Elimination Chamber. Surely that's the money. I thought as well, I know you care for my thoughts. I thought as well what they might do is have it so Sheamus reveals that he turned on Drew to toughen him up, following Edge's dressing down last week saying, you should have attacked me. He said he'd shower me with compliments. I want Sheamus to turn around and go, I shut down our friendship to make you tougher. They could have done that, but no, it's just like, friendship ended with Drew. Now Elimination Chamber is my friend. Poor Sheamus. I wanted one-on-one. Anyway, I said that a lot this week, haven't I? Gonna give Raw, despite my complaints, I am gonna go and give Raw a B-, because it wasn't the worst show they've ever done. Like, there was some fun matches in here. There was a lot of character stuff, but they have this habit of just rushing into Elimination Chambers as of late, you know? We're 2 weeks away from the pay-per-view. We have to have an Elimination Chamber, so therefore we have to have all that going on. And it just, to me, it doesn't give you a chance to breathe on the road to WrestleMania with this Elimination Chamber speed bump on it. It was a good idea at first, having the Elimination Chamber there, because you could do it so whichever brand didn't win the Rumble, you have a chamber to determine who goes to the WrestleMania. But now it's just like, everyone gets a chamber. And you've got a wonderful match that you could have had between Sheamus and Drew before Mania that now is just being diluted. And that annoys me a bit. But apart from my annoyance with that, it wasn't the worst episode of Raw we've ever had. It was all right. It was good as B-. There's enough good stuff in there to keep me entertained for 3 hours. So that's good. And that's half the battle, innit? Stay safe. Love you, bye.